Dear President Michalski, dear Father Augustinsky, honorable guests, excellencies, and dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here. And first of all, I would like, before I introduce a little bit more about myself and my job, I first of all have to congratulate your mayor, the president, because this is such a wonderful place. Brand new, as you can still smile, no, not smile, smell, because the carpet still smells wonderful, brand new. And I've just been outside the big hall with 15,000 spectators, maybe in some competitions even a little bit more. First class, world class. Congratulations for this. This is really extremely good, very positive for sports movement and cultural movement in your city. I've been here 14 years ago as a Minister of Education and Science of the small state of Bremen, where I not only worked in politics, but as well as a general manager of a football club, Bundesliga football club, Werder Bremen. And so I'm very much close to sports. And I have to congratulate the mayor once again. You might not know why, because I already praised his wonderful work here, but I've had the honor this afternoon to be here in SIEMACHA, and I was very much impressed by this wonderful work. Wonderful work, unbelievable. So many people working so hard exactly in the way that I love sport for development and peace. I know, Robert, you are a gold medalist. You are a real hero. A real fantastic hero of Poland. I know many of you, and they are wonderful role models, not always, but very, very often, wonderful role models. But we not only need role models who become Olympic winners, because there's only a very small number who are the really best of the world. For me, it is more important, excuse me please, Robert, as I said, full respect for your unbelievable performances. But for me, it is more important to have 100,000 of role models in all the neighborhoods. And that's why I'm now concentrating on sports for all. How we can use sport as a tool for development and peace. Right now, where we are sitting here, we have more than 60 military conflicts around the world. Sometimes, as you just said, we don't want to watch any more news, because here people kill each other, there kill each other, people bomb each other into heaven or hell. It is unbelievable. And why shouldn't we learn from our history? And this history over centuries showed that it is no way of killing each other and preparing the next war. I'm very much afraid of all this bad news around the world. Not far away from here, the conflict in the Ukraine. Far away, Middle East conflicts. In Africa, you have a lot of conflicts. Nearly, well, every 3 months you find another place where people kill each other. And this makes it very, very difficult. But as I'm an athlete like Robert, I love to fight for peace. And we can use sport as a tool. We cannot stop any tank, but we can build bridges through sport and bring people together. And that's why I especially speak to you, young guys, when I say you are the future and you can change the future day by day in different ways. Believe in this fact and use sport as a tool for development and peace. And I would like, and this is the umbrella of my speech, I will talk about how you can use sport as a tool for education. As I'm listening very carefully, we have a representative from the Republic of Korea, one representative of Germany, and we have a lot of Polish people here. When I've been a senator we call in the small state of Bremen, we call a minister a senator, like we do in Hamburg and Berlin as well. When I worked in this field, I had very, very bad results in the big PISA, how can I say, competition of education and science. Very, very bad results. Incredible bad results. And I get very disappointed by that. As I said, I'm a former athlete. I said, what can we do? And then I compared the German results with the Polish results and the Korean results. What do you think were the best? The best were Koreans, and Polish made a big jump because there is the feeling of change in society. That was something like 10 years ago. Unbelievable, positive change for the better in Poland. And now let's think about the story of Korea. You all will know that 70 years ago, when the war ends in Korea, this was one of the poorest countries in the world. No development. Unbelievable. After 70 years, please go to the Republic of Korea, what we call normally South Korea. It's unbelievable. And I only will show you, if I would have it in my hand, the Samsung device. And go around the world, go into the big hotels around the world, you will see Samsung TV sets all around the world. They are first class and they're very cheap. So you can see it all. What is the reason of that? That is education. Sometimes in a way in Japan and in Korea, then I have to disagree because there are many, many pupils or students who kill themselves in a suicide because they cannot stand the pressure of their families when the families spend all the money for their education. But what is behind? Behind is that they have learned their lesson that we need education, education, and education. And when we finish education, we have to spend a lot of money for science. And the big companies like BP or and as well Nike, they know about it. They only have the best qualified researchers in watching what is the best clothes for sports, the best shoes for sport, and how can we reduce petrol here and there to make it more eco-friendly. All these things have to start with the education. Now looking 50 years back, when I was a student at the University of Hamburg, I listened very carefully to somebody who taught us about a very famous, Pestalozzi is his name, Swiss reformer in pedagogy. And this philosopher as well gave the information that is 270 years ago, only to give you this idea, 270 years ago. He said the only thing to start education is to give love to the children and role models. As I understand you, Padre Augustinus Zinski, you call it peer education. I call it, as I learned at university, role model. This is the same. You need a role model, and we can call him, now we call, in the modern times, we call it a peer. If you talk as a father to your child, especially when they come to puberty, it's very difficult to tell them what to do. The same with teachers, the same sometimes with priests as well, but peers who are good role models can change the life of our children. And so my opinion is what I learned in this lesson at university is very, very important. First of all, and I really mean it as I said it, love is the most important for the self-esteem and the confidence of our children. If the children don't get love in the family or in the school or in the churches, they will not grow up with self-confidence. But if you empower the children in this field, you will be definitely successful. And then, if you get them the right role models, it can be a superstar, of course. But the daily peer is even more important because they can see that one day they can be like the peer. if they can run as fast or go as fast as Robert, I would make many question marks. I always see this when I go to Africa. Millions of young people, boys and girls, want to play professional football in Europe. And they do everything to succeed in this. When I discuss this with them and ask them, what is your wish for the future? What is your hope for the future? And I expect, okay, I want to be a nurse or an engineer. Never I get this answer. I get an answer, I want to be a professional football player like Drogba or Eto'o. And I always get very unhappy when I listen to this. Because I would love if they tell it just the other way around, because I know exactly from the field of professional football, nobody will have the chance of all these millions of people. Maybe there are 3 players, 3 of 1 billion people who live in Africa. 1 billion. 500 million are in the age that they can play football as youth. And 3 of them will succeed in professional leagues, that they can earn so much money that they can come back and give and spend this money for their family. That is the reason why they go to Europe. That is the reason. Not for their own pockets. They are really taking care of families, sometimes villages. But what does it mean for education? I said, most important, education. Under the umbrella of education, role models, and love. But when I deliver speeches all around the world, I say, listen, also especially to politicians, what is important under the umbrella of education? Sport can bring, additionally, very, very positive implementations of education. And I will give you some examples. You see, there's not only the question of health. Healthy people, I don't have to explain to you that it's good to run or to have sports in which kind. It doesn't matter if you play golf, tennis, football, handball, basketball, volleyball, doesn't matter. Anyway, you have to have one sport that you really love. I love to tell stories. Now you will get a very exclusive story from Pope Benedict. I visited the Vatican. Unfortunately, I missed to meet him personally because there was a strike on Lufthansa. Okay. But I got the chance to speak with one assistant about the field of sports. And then he told me, Mr. Lemke, as you know, Benedict is a German. He said, Pope Benedict doesn't like football and doesn't like sport. Oh, I said, I'm so disappointed because I would love to talk about football with him. No, he doesn't like football. I said, how could it happen that a German boy from Bavaria doesn't like football? I said, it's a secret, but it's between us. Yeah, it's between us, please. He said, whenever his team was selected at school or somewhere in the free time in the afternoon, he was the last that was chosen. And this is something what I tell people also around the world, please don't do it like he was excluded in a way, because when you see it day by day and you start playing football and you will see they don't want that you want to play with them, and finally the last one, okay, come on, Benedict, okay. He became a pope. That was their alternative. No, but this is really nothing to love about, because this is wrong. If a school teacher do it this way, you should line up, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you have to start, and if you see that this 1, 2 choice was wrong, you can then change it. But never, if there is a sport teacher, a coach, never do it the way that made him so unhappy with football. Please, I'm quite sure you will remember this story, but don't tell about it. So why do I bring this example? I bring this example because I learned all my life when I worked in sport, you love something and you will have good performances if you have joy, and not if you are pushed and pressured. So that means if you have fun in that what you are doing and get praised for it and not hurt, yeah? If you writing a text and somebody would hit you because you made a mistake, that will make you very nervous, and this is not successful. It is 10 times more successful to say, listen, this is wonderful what you have done this time. You only have 20 mistakes. Last week it were 30 mistakes. Now you have 20. You are great. This makes us happy, and that makes children happy. And believe me, I'm absolutely sure that this research is correct. If you give positive reinforcements, it's good for the development of our youth and our children. And if you, as a coach, later on, only say wrong, bad, out, will not give you any more chance, you will not succeed. But if you bring people together with others, here again, the role model, you will become better if you play in a football team or volleyball, basketball team, if you play with other players who can play better than yourself. You will learn by doing how to score and do this and this correct, in a correct way. If you send him down to another division or level, he will not get the chance to become better and better and better. So this is very important to watch with your eyes and see what can I do better to become better and better in my sport. Why is it important for education? When I was a small boy, and of course I went at a football club, we have to train a header. A header, you know what a header is? Yes, of course, if you score with your head with the ball. Header. I learned that I have to train it 100 times because this, like a bow, and to get it with the right place of your forehead is very difficult. To run, to jump, and to get it the right way. You have to train it very, very hard. But what I learned, not only to do the header, but I learned through sport that I have to train also at school. Because if I would not learn my vocabularies in English, I never would be able to speak English here in a speech. And this is very, very important for other parts. Discipline. Discipline in a victory or in a defeat. You know definitely all the pictures how, young boys and girls are so disappointed when they lose a match 1-0. Sometimes I see tears in their eyes when they go from the pitch. And I get very angry when I see this. Because on the other side, the other team, they celebrate, oh, we won 1-0. Tears here, unbelievable joy there. And I always intervene, say, what are you doing here? Are you crazy? Yeah, parents are even worse at the pitch, you know that. There's no reason to cry if you have such a defeat. There's no time to make the big bamboo on the pitch. You have to congratulate the other team, and the other team has to say, listen, next half year we come back for another match, and then we see who will the winner in that time. You can learn this very, very easy through sports. And there are many other values of sports that means here we can learn very easy, and you don't have to convince the youth about doing this because it's joy, it's fun. And also the respect. Respect is absolutely important for a peaceful society. If you don't respect the other, maybe he has another religion, he has another color of skin, another mother tongue, and you said, no, I don't want to play with them and I don't want to respect them. This is so important to bring people together in the field of sport. Sport is a universal language. You need just to learn the rules. For runners, it's rather easy, but also for football players, if you can explain what is offside, then it's rather easy to play football. You must know the rules. And then it's very easy. And who would have the idea if you go to on holidays, maybe in a club or this, and you have just 4 or 5 players, and there's another group playing on another side, you will say, "Are you ready to play with us?" And then maybe they cannot understand because they speak another language. You will show them a ball, okay? Join us, yeah, join us, and then they play. Very easy, no discussion. Who would ask, which religion are you? I don't care which religion you are. Maybe after the match you can tell me in a way, where do you come from? It would be interesting for me, but I would not mind saying, "Oh, you are from Russia, I don't want to play football with you. You're from Israel, I don't want. US, no guy." Nothing. We have sports. We come together and have fun. And all these things you should, as upcoming coaches, you should use for your work. But as I said before, make them happy. Don't push them down. Because people that you push down, you break their neck, they will not love sport anymore. Use the power of sports for well-being of the people. I get nervous, I told this at lunchtime, I always get nervous when I'm not able to run. I have an injury with a torn muscle, and it's absolutely impossible for me to run, but I'm unhappy about it. I love to run, and if I don't have the chance to run, I feel totally unhappy. That makes your product so good to sell. Yeah, I know. The guy from Nike smiles when I see, listen, that I'm angry that I cannot use my Nike shoes. I don't know if you know, Werder Bremen is a Nike club. You know, huh? Okay, for sure. But anyway, this is so important to use the power of sport. Now, also watching at my watch, because I was told to have a little answers and question later, what is important if we leave education right now? This is a Millennium Development Goal 2. And as I said to you, we should start as soon as possible. And we should come together with partners. And partnership is number 8 Millennium Development Goals. For them, or for all the people who don't know about Millennium Development Goals, our head of states, including the Polish one, went to New York to the General Assembly in 2000 and vote for the Millennium Development Goals. They declare these 8 Millennium Development Goals as the most important goals for all the world. The second, as I said, education, and the 8th, partnership. We definitely cannot do everything ourselves. If you are just alone and don't want to integrate others or don't want to be integrated in a team, you will not be successful in your future. You will definitely be successful if you're an inclusive one. That you say, okay, I have some abilities, some skills, and I want to bring this into my team. And it doesn't matter if it is a football team, a volleyball team, or it is your company. You have your abilities and you have your skills, and you have to share them. An example. If you know how to convince a customer to sell your products, and your colleague doesn't know this customer, that's a buyer from a big warehouse, and you see your colleague who didn't succeed, and you smile because you know exactly how he could succeed just in some information, some knowledge that you have about the customer. What do you think would be good if you then say, I can tell my boss that my colleague has no clue how to grab this business? Or is it better to tell your colleague, listen, you can convince him in first talking about Bayern Munich. Talk about this and this and this, and then come and mention this, because this might be the key to open his heart, listening to you, and then finally to arrange the business. Why is it important? Because this is partnership. This is communication, and successful communication. Because This guy will be very happy if he will then make the deal with this warehouse to sell something that the company will sell, has to sell. It is important because this guy will not forget what he has done. So he will share this together with others. And we say, listen, my colleague is a very nice one. I had a problem with a customer, but now he solved this problem, and I'm very proud to do a very good job for my company. And if you have this kind of teams, it is absolutely great for the success of your company, but not only your company, your team, and what you're working, and of course, for yourself, to be a good role model, a good peer, who respect the other and become friend to your colleagues. Very, very important under the umbrella of partnership. And of course, you cannot do everything alone. I listened very carefully when I heard about your project this afternoon, and there were so many different people involved: the government, the president, big sponsors, small sponsors, the community. I have heard some volunteers from Germany were also included, Aktion Sühnezeichen, very, very positive. And if we all then come together, then we can change the world for the better. I'm absolutely sure that this is a way that Ban Ki-moon and all the heads of states had in their mind when they said, we have to partner each other and not to fight each other. We shall exchange everything, what we learned around the world, for the better. And so this is a very, very important point that I immediately also mentioned this afternoon. We have a program, and I invited participants from SIEMACHA for the future. We have a special program for role models that I met somewhere in the world, in all continents. And I was so impressed by your work that I invited one man and one lady aged between 18 and 25. And I want to give the youth a little bit, I think there are some younger here sitting in this audience, learn English very hard. To have a second or third language is wonderful. And that opens also your own future. So if you haven't started learning English very hard, now start from this day working very hard. Don't use the devices only for playing and crazy things, but use these devices as well for English lessons. I do this day by day since 7 years. I already did my lecture this morning when I took the train to the airport. And so this is very important because we need you to speak English when we invite you for the camp. And this will bring you maybe to Florida, to Japan, to Korea, to Germany, or to Sweden or Switzerland. So that could be once a dream that you have from this moment. And if you say, oh, this crazy old guy, he's a crazy guy. I'm not. I started as a boy like you, as a volunteer at the Olympic Games in Munich. And I always had the dream to work in sports in any way. And you can see now I have the honor to go on a voluntary base through the world, telling the people that they should change for the better and using sport for development and peace. And I didn't mention, and I don't want to forget this approach, persons with disabilities are normally isolated. And I don't like this. In some countries, they are not allowed to leave their houses. Families don't allow them to go out because they feel ashamed. The neighborhood doesn't like it if the people with a disability go out. When somebody asked me what was the result of Beijing Olympics, I said, for me personally, the best thing of the Beijing Olympics were the Beijing Paralympics, because that changes the lives of 90 million people. Can you imagine? 90 million inhabitants live in China with a disability. And before they decided to organize the Paralympic Games, these people were not allowed to go out there of their houses. And I remember very well when parents of a disabled child whom I met in Beijing, said to me, Mr. Lemke, it is so wonderful that we can join with our son, who was a child with an intellectual disability. We can join with him the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. And that is a political change through sports. That shows us the power, not to stop tanks, but to change society in a very positive thing. So please, always when you come together with friends or neighbors that have a disability, please include them in your games, in your plays. Try to give them support here and there. I cannot say that they wait for it, but they definitely would love if you can offer your help. And so this is one very important point under the umbrella of partnership. This is a real partnership, and people with a disability should not be excluded. They should be included with you into the center, in the center of the society. Of course, I know that there are many recommendations for policy makers, but I have to tell you, also I'm from the UN, and you might expect that I'm a bureaucrat. I'm not. I'm only focusing on implementations. And this is now the end of my speech. Implementations are much more important than programs and papers and books and researches. We need researches, but after the research, we have to deal something. And that means implementations are much more important than recommendations. So for all you youngsters, please, sometimes you have very good ideas, but believe me, there are millions and millions of people with good ideas, but only some have the abilities and the skills to implement things. Like SIEMACHA. That was an implementation. That was not only an idea in 1886, something like that, it starts. And this father had a good idea. And he has not only had a good idea, he said, let's do it. And as I heard, you relaunched it because it was, during some times, it was not able to do this. And I really appreciate your work. It is wonderful to see what you're doing, how you change the world by what you are doing. And now it will grow because I will bring you into an international network, and you can decide which community, which sport project that is quite similar, what we talked about in Dia and Bethlehem, quite similar what you are doing, combining sport with education to empower persons with disabilities, as well to empower women's sport, girls' sport. Many countries, they have not the same right that they have in Poland. But to encourage them, that could be a very, very important goal for you as well. I said to you, I don't think that our people in Poland and Germany know in which kind of wonderful country they live. We live in peace, what is so important. We have good air. If you go to China, the air is a catastrophe. We have wonderful weather. We have enough rain. And this is wonderful, but ask our children. They will not say that rain is good, that rain is positive. They ask for sunshine every day. No, we don't need sunshine every day. We should have sunshine in our hearts, Father. This is for true. But in the desert or in the Middle East, where I've been very often, they pray for water. They don't get the rain. But really, I appreciate the stay. Once again, thank you so much for the invitation. And please, your youth especially, bring these ideas out of it. Be good role models. Be peers for the others. The people in your town, Krakow, that developed so wonderful the last 14 years, developed in such a wonderful way. They need you, all of you, as role models. Be role models for the others who are not so lucky to have this background as you have. Thank you so much.